Good day, welcome back to the Student StarCraft AI tournament. As you may have noticed, the website is down and, well, that has got to do with maintenance during the summer. The Czech University of Prague is, well, maintaining its server park, and what better time to do that when the students are not there. So I thought, well, we'd take a trip down memory lane, because even the few replays I have been recommended this week have got a link to the replay viewer, and of course that link fetches its replays from our website, so that didn't really work. And unfortunately, we weren't informed of the maintenance, and that was a bit of a problem. So I thought, well, let's take an older replay, or a couple of older replays, to show you what Brood War was like back in the days. And of course this is not really all that old yet. But this is a game between Ice Labs and TSU. Of course, we have got replays of older finals, for example, but they unfortunately are stored on the server, and that doesn't really work for now. So, what we've got here is a game between Ice Labs and TSU from April 2015. That's 4 years ago, and that was about the time I started getting involved with this beautiful tournament, and I had just casted the 2014 finals, so those were pretty epic. I would like to have some games of before that, and even of the not so very good bots back then, because TSU was just then very new to the scene and really doing damage. But you can see Ice putting a lot of pressure on TSU, making a nice comeback with the tank. You've got the air cover, TSU hasn't got the air cover, and Ice with its early siege tank contain is actually doing quite a bit of damage, and this Ursadon is just happily mulling about the middle of the map. So TSU is there with the Wraith, and of course mineral only, macro wise a little bit better than Ice, and now going to town on this poor hapless tank. There is a bunker, but otherwise there is not much in the way of anti-air, but Ice of course will always counter that and will make some delights. And the Wraith micro, as you can see, still left something to be desired, but income wise TSU is doing quite well. Worker count a little bit higher, army count a little bit higher as well, but playing it a bit slow, a little bit defensively, and the harass could have been a little bit more on point as well. But there you go. So Ice is contesting the main bit of the map with a couple of tanks and protecting its expansion as well. The Vulture doesn't even run, and of course TSU was very Vulture heavy, like Iron was a couple of years ago, just all over the place with harass, and it would really take a good bot. You can see the second building SUV falling again, and Ice is having the devil of a job to defend the new third, because no mineral only here. TSU happily grinding away from 3 bases, just churning out units and taking control of the middle of the map. You can see it's 50 versus 20 army supply, and versus one of the top bots, that is quite impressive. So yeah, all kinds of mines, most of them red, belonging to TSU. The Wraith doing quite a bit of damage, and now the Vulture running up to the tanks with their mines. That was quite new back then, so that was really impressive. And the Wraith micro, of course, has grown a lot more sophisticated since then. And here you can see another Vulture incursion on the SUVs, and that's just a lot of damage done. And you can see that Ice Lab is having troubles keeping its worker supply up, and no static defenses for the third. And while Ice was defending the third, the Vulture, they sweep in. Oh, and they're going for the turret for some reason. It's some kind of a prioritizing error, so they get cleaned up relatively easily. But TSU is all over the place with a lot of small units like Vultures, and of course backing it up with quite a bit of tanks as well. And the fourth for TSU is operational about the same time as the third for Ice. But Ice has got this extra gas up and running, and TSU has been mining from the mineral only. But these Vultures, of course, they make up for that. Oh, and the mines! So you can see how quickly these Vultures do away with all Ice Labs units. Mines all over the place. It was really a big mess for all these large Terran lumbering bots with their tanks and Goliaths, and look at all these Vultures, look at them go. And this is really what got Iron its inspiration, just make a lot of vultures. They're cheap, they are fast, and they've got a lot of mines, and you can, in the end, just swarm the enemy with them. Army composition-wise, of course, Ice is dead right now, but it's 30, 40 vultures to a handful of tanks, one Goliath and one Science Vessel, just for fun. And of course the macro, because TSMU's macro was back then very, very good. Oh, and the Science Vessels are going to town on this barracks. So small teething problems to be ironed out. And Ice, although it has got quite a number of bases, the harass of TSMU is quite on top. One tank each, and the SCVs, they don't know how to deal with it. So that was quite impressive a show. And now, what are we going to do? We've got a lot of good games. One of the things we have got is a best of 3 big game hunters, and I don't really know who I got this from, but it's the big game hunters with a lot of money in these resources here. You've got Crazio, Microwave, and Big Game Hunter Bot, which later became Nightcat, as Nightcat learned to play normal money maps as well. You can see, well, this is actually pretty nice. I have this overview, and I guess we've got a lot of screen space left as well. Versus TSMU, Zerg, Terran, and Protoss, which was, there wasn't really a bot which could play the game at a decent level. And there were some random bots, but they mainly confined themselves to cheesy build orders. And TSMU was really the first who made all 3 races into veritable weapons. And let's see, I haven't got these map colors on because it's yellow, purple, and brown. So these 3 are playing those 3, and that's Big Game Hunter Bot. So yeah, I'm trying to work a skirmishes in the middle. That's not really as important. So Microwave back then, going for a lot of hatches. Maybe Valid, TSMU going for some hatches and some Zerglings. And Big Game Hunter Bot going for a lot of hatches as well, with some rather late technology. TSMU Protoss going for the expansion in an unusual location, but hey, what can you say to that? And with only 1 gateway, so that's pretty ballsy. And you can see that Microwave is already putting on the pressure. Second gateway, third gateway coming online, and I think that TSMU Protoss should be safe for now. TSMU Terran going for a bio build, and TSMU Zerg is going for a lot of Zerglings. It's got excellent micro, and you can see here that these units will mix. They are pondering an attack on Crazio. Crazio is doing a bit of bio itself. I don't know if that's a hard-coded selection by whoever fielded this bot, because if you run these bots through a launcher, you can sometimes state which build order they need to take. But Crazio, for the time being, is locked up, and TSMU Protoss has got the first expansion up and running, while defending itself against the units of a Big Game Hunter bot. Now, Microwave is taking its sweet time, has got a lot of money, but is not really doing much. So also take into account that these players may not be optimized for Big Game Hunters play. In fact, some of them may be god-awful at it. You can see all kinds of silly stuff going on all over the place. And Crazio is defending its base. For frame of reference, this is a file from... oh god, I can't see. Because my computer updated all the file dates, and that's a bit of a waste. But I'd say this is pretty old, 2015, 16 at the latest. And yeah, you can see all kinds of stuff happening all over the place. Judging by the supply, the TSMU bots are doing really well. The Zerg bot is struggling a little bit, because it has sort of stalled, looks like. And perhaps it's waiting for an expansion. And Crazio is just sitting back, and you can see that it's got a lot of money as well. Production-wise, Crazio is building, and Microwave is building as well, but TSMU Zerg is not building anything at all. Just mining minerals and gas. And Microwave is having some issues as well also perhaps wants to take an expansion because you've got this fixed build order which says you need to take an expansion right now. And a big game hunter bot is building a lot of hatches. Supply wise, it's not doing much. It's got 9 workers and a god awful amount of hatches, but other than that it's not really working. And you've got these bots were falling apart all over the place, and Crazio is doing relatively well. Crazio, Tisimu Terran, Tisimu Protoss are doing okay. That said, with a couple of scarabs this would be... oh no, those are microwaves, hydras, which are stuck. The workers have balked out, and in the Terran base you've got a lot of infantry, but it's not really working, is it? Now Crazio is moving out, so... and also Crazio is falling apart at the seams. And this might actually be something that the replay viewer has got some difficulties handling. And Crazio is now attacking Microwave. So that's rubbish. Oh, but it's a free-for-all, so that doesn't really matter. And I doubt whether I want to continue this game. Crazio is still building depots, so it should be okay. And you can see that these bots, although they've got a lot of money in the bank, are not really the most stable. Or it must be the replay viewer which is walking out, but Crazio right now has got these... oh dear, the depots have been interrupted. That's a damn pity. So I don't think it will really make much of a difference whether I continue casting or not, because this game is just officially balked out. And Tisimu Protoss is making a lot of workers, but otherwise nothing much. Oh, and this glide is cleaning all of. Okay, so we'll discontinue this game and hop into the semi-finals of the 2014 finals, which is absolutely great. We've got this old map Electric Circuit, which is huge, and we've got Martin Royker's Leaderbot versus Ice Labs. And you saw Ice Labs a lot, and it was just at the turning point where Ice Labs was losing ground. And for those of you who know who won the 2014 finals, please do not spoil the game, or I don't know, please. I don't really care. It's just the old games to show you what's going on. And Leaderbot is going for 2 barracks and immediately sending over the Marines. And Ice has got the barracks ready. But this appears to be some kind of a pressure tactic. And Leaderbot is now in the base of Ice with 2 Marines. And Ice is producing Marines, but also having to send off some workers to help him defend against the Marines of Leaderbot. Leaderbot now going for the throat, not even going to bother with Marines. And the factory, I think it's rather late. Ice is still making workers where it should be making a vulture right now. It's got the supply, it's got the minerals, but it's just not working. And Leaderbot, with a simple Marine A move, overruns one of the most powerful bots at the moment. And that was... it's a bit like the shock of watching I Love Oof hit the Brood War professional scene. Just a lot of macro power and cheese and whatever have you. So Leaderbot, Martin Royek, is doing quite well here, but leaving these 2 alone. And now we'll see why it's called Leaderbot. It is because, of course, it's after the Terran player Shinseng Moon. But Shinseng Moon really got known. It's called. He had the nickname Lita in professional Brood War. Was known for his Wraith play, amongst other things, and now, because... oh, there you go, the Wraith is there. So the Marines sort of forgot where the enemy buildings were, and then the Wraiths had to find them and kill them. So we've got the next game coming up. And... there you go. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Leaderbot is going for a proxy barracks this time, and Ice just doesn't know how to handle it. It's 2 barracks proxied, and Leaderbot's bunker is there, but not... oh no, that's Leaderbot's bunker. And now, although the bunker is killed, a lot of damage is being done, and bots just didn't know how to handle aggression like this. Perhaps they got some kind of defense against a 4-pool, because that was what a lot of Zerg were doing, but simply working Marines over was too much. I need to deselect this. So these games were really rather quick. This was one of the semi-finals, so Martin Roykers moved over into the finals. And then we had the other game, which was Thomas Weider's Ximp versus Dave Churchill's University of Alberta bot. And University of Alberta bot is, of course, one of the greatest bots out there. Not really because it's so very good, but it has been the father of so many other bots. It's just unbelievable. And of course, it's a precursor to Steamhammer. And Steamhammer then again fathered or mothered so many more bots. It's really, I think Martin Roykers did a genealogical thing once, and you can see University of Alberta is going for a lot of zealots and trying to bust the cannon emplacement of Ximp. Ximp is still there, just reached the semi-finals this year, and you can see the zealots waiting in and out, and once they see the cannons they will retire. They haven't really got a sophisticated memory to see, well, to remember how many cannons there are, so they keep wiggling in and out, taking a lot of cannon fire and then retreating again. And of course, once you reach the gap, you have access to a lot of cannons, so you might actually go in just for the kill, but it's just not there, the functionality to have a more coordinated memory of what actually is going on. And you can see that Ximp is already building carriers. And of course, zealots are pretty good, but against a lot of cannons and carriers, they are not the best. So in the early days, you had a lot of games like these. The bots were just not flexible, they were one-trick ponies, and once their one trick failed, it was just butt your head against the enemy and not even look at where the probe is going. And now the carriers are coming home to roost. And yeah, you can see. So at this point, University of Alberta bot just sort of crashed, tapped out, did nothing anymore, just not building anything, and then you've got the carriers all over you, and it's a good game. So make no mistake, University of Alberta was finished, basically. It received an update in 2015 or 2017, where it would make 1 or 2 cannons in the main just to help against a drop. But otherwise, its functionalities with the carriers and it would and with the observers and arbiters, which was really rather complex for the time and still is it has been in place since 2012, 2013, and it's really had an ELO rate of 2,600 or something like that. It was really like the Locutus, but then against everyone. It would just win. And yeah, that was the game. So if the early contain, and as this is a semi-finals pair of games, it was best of 3 back then. Let me show you the other one as well. And this is another large map, so I don't really think that the first zealot will be in time. This is a very, very well thought out scheme of Ximps in the early days, even more so than now. And even now there are so many players who have a devil's time of job to beat Ximp. While Ximp is only doing one thing, you would send one tank or one reaver and it would keel over, or you could drop in the main, it would be over as well, but it's just so hard because all these bots, and still there are so many which are just fixating on natural choke, basically all of them. And there is hardly a bot in the map, in the bot pool, who can do a drop or some kind of an air attack. And now perhaps University of Alberta will not get caught up on itself. And perhaps we are going to see some goons. That might be nice, because goons can do something against carriers, but you'd need gas, and that's a bit of a snag. Oh, there is gas here. But still, it's only zealots and a third base for Ximp. The probe just snuck out and did its stuff, and you can see now the third base for University of Alberta, but it's all zealots. And the zealots, they fall apart to the carriers. It's now 5 carriers versus 5 Gateway units, but there are some goons, which is good. And then Ximp would take the long way round or the short way round, depending on whatever. And now with a handful of goons, perhaps University of Alberta might have more of a chance, but still way too many zealots. And of course a decent zealot count, but you need to do something with them, and a lot of them just died to carriers, a lot of them just died to cannons, and then you can see what's going to happen. These 4 will just wreck havoc, and oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. This is what it looks like, and now the goons are there, but it's very hard to outmaneuver a pair of carriers because these bots still get confused by all these interceptors. It's very hard to calculate where you've got to attack if you haven't got a clear concept of what a carrier actually is with all the interceptors. And here come the observers, and that was pretty pro play even then. So we had a final with Litterbot versus Xin, and of course Litterbot won that, but just to demonstrate how little actually has changed in the comprehension of bots, it is so hard to understand a carrier if you haven't been told by a human what it is. And that is still something that is very complex for a bot to do, and you need a nifty plan to deal with that. Now, this game of course is over, these zealots are stuck here, so let's hop into the next one and have a small peek at how many time we have got left. We've got to... yes, perhaps we'll try another one. That wasn't the smartest. What did I do? Hello. I killed the replay viewer. Let's try again. It is a team game. And the replay viewer doesn't really like team games. It's not optimized for that. That was something that was going to be in there. Oh god. Now let's just do this one. It is Martin Royker's Litterbot, and the opponent is Crazio. And you can see here another bit of cheese that Litterbot is doing, just sending out 3 scouting SCVs and then trying to harass. If you have seen this before, it looks a lot like Stone. So Stone wasn't the first one with this capability, and Crazio doggedly just going for a refinery, just not going to bother, and Litterbot with a couple of SCVs at home, and they will repair themselves right here. And Crazio, of course, hasn't got the repair functionality and hasn't got a barracks. So here comes the barracks, but the SCVs of Litterbot just have got a plan. And well, Crazio was one of the top bots back then, and just falling apart to a simple cheese like this and tapping out. That's the GG. I'm not going to bother. I've got one more free for all. Or perhaps let's just see if we can get this to work. It's Crazio, Bereaver and Litterbot. And well, let's look at this supply and minerals kind of thing, or let's keep this one up. So the early stages are doing okay, and it must be said, ooh, there is a bunker by Crazio, but in the right position. No kind of cheese. Bereaver going for a quick expansion, although it's not really necessary on the big game hunters map, but then again, these bots don't really know what they are doing, so they haven't got a concept. Well, is this a normal money map? Is this the fastest, or is this big game hunters? Just very hard to actually decide what's going on. And yeah, there you go. So Crazio with a lot of infantry doing some kind of specific big game hunterish build order, going for an academy as well. And it looks like these marines are just stuck at this point. A good indicator of a bot being stuck is just all the units staying right outside the production facilities. Now Litterbot with the tanks doing quite okay, obviously not doing the cheese, it's a little bit later game, and then the floating command center, which is a very nice trick to have as well. Crazio, however, with a lot of infantry doing okay by itself, and Bereaver, what's it doing? It hasn't got the greatest army, but it is threatening this area over here. But then again, Litterbot will just soak it up with the marines and the tanks in the rear. Lots of tech coming out of Bereaver, and when Bereaver hit the scene, it was really seen as a promising bot. It was, well, it was the best Protoss at the time. You didn't have Banana Brain yet, you didn't have TCMU Protoss, no Locutors, no Purple Wave. It was really a monster in the making, and then afterwards it sort of fell still. You've got this shuttle with the Reaver, and that was, of course, looking very promising as well. You can see the damage potential, the Zealots running up to the tanks, and the Reaver firing some blasts from the rear. Oh yes, and this is what makes the game good. This is where, and of course it does sort of need to deal with the tanks a little bit better, and then there you go, it gets killed. Now, this game is not falling apart as hard as the last free-for-all, so let's hope it will continue to roll out, because this is really where it's getting fun and where to see what these bots can do. Now we've got 2 shuttled Reavers out there, and an Observer, Corsair, and a Storm as well. So, basically what we had were bots with gateway units, mainly Zealots, Goons, the occasional Dark Templar, Daniel, the bot called Daniel is a Protoss which can do every unit in the game and Disruption Web as well, but this level of play with Zealot dropped on tanks, with Storm, with Reavers in the mineral line, this is absolutely... You can imagine, if you hadn't seen this in Brute War AI before, it was pretty wicked to see something like this happening. And the damage was quite exceptional as well. Couple of lucky shots. And a couple of lucky Marines as well, that must be said. But now the tanks of Leaderbots are really doing damage. EMPs going off, that was quite exceptional as well. And of course the tank back then was still as strong as it is now, very hard to counter, but the SCV damage done here in the rear is quite gnarly. And in the end, perhaps this tank push may falter. Leaderbot is supporting it with 2 bases, but the shuttle fell still. I don't know if the Reaver is still alive, and Crazio sitting back, doing nothing, but now cutting off the reinforcements for Leaderbot. So with the Arbiter, I think that the Reaver might actually clean up these couple of tanks, and then the Reaver would be in an excellent position because it's got so many bases, and Leaderbot is sort of caught between Crazio and the Reaver, but the Reaver is now taking on Crazio as well. So it is a free-for-all in the best sense of the word. Neither of these players are teaming up against the other one, and it is just a big mess. And you can see these units trying to decide, well, I'm going to go left or going to go right, I'm going to attack Crazio or still Leaderbot. And Leaderbot with these 2 bases has quite a decent economy as well, same goes for Crazio. But the Reaver has got a very nice army indeed. Now Crazio shelling the base of Leaderbot, and of course this is one of these well, not imbalances, but map designs which weren't really conducive to pro play back then, and Big Game Hunters never has been part of the professional map build, just for fun games. And this game has been going for a quarter of an hour in real time, and it's now not even halfway done. So you can see where this is going. This is going to be an epic slugfest, and Crazio with the tanks is doing okay. It's just... if it doesn't get cheese versus Leaderbot, it's just so very, very solid. And still... the Reaver's woken up, that's good. And the Corsair is there as well. So there is action going on everywhere, but you can see the Reaver getting... The Reaver swarming, but Crazio has just got this huge lumbering mass of tanks. And it's just very hard to approach that. Of course, a recall somewhere around here would be nice, because you could then take out the main production facility, and Crazio is still shelling Leaderbot from all angles. Leaderbot appears to be going... this might be interesting. Encroachment from both sides. Leaderbot seems to be up for the high jump, as Crazio is going to tackle it first. The Reaver is still maxed, but this powerful army with very expensive units, you can see all kinds of technology already available. Crazio's got lockdown as well. Upgrades all over the place. Leaderbot lagging a little bit behind there. But the Reaver and Crazio are doing quite fine in every department. But these tanks, and that's really, to a certain extent, that's still the tale of Brute War AI versus... nice Storm going off, mines hitting everywhere. Crazio getting a little dent in its production and defenses as well, but There will be tanks from the rear, and if the Reaver doesn't really commit to this push, is it rebuilding? Yes, it is. Lots of gateway units and doing some damage here as well. So Crazio feeling the pressure a little bit as well, dropping a little bit in supply, has got a great income from all sources, but the Reaver doesn't really know where to strike and is now going for the throat, for the natural choke, again with a lot of forces, still maxed. Crazio having issues with the gas, and of course losing this natural is not going to help it any either. And Litterbot is going to check things out with a science vessel while losing most of its main base. So with the worker count as it is, Litterbot can sort of be counted out, and I think that once these tanks of Crazio will be able to help against the defense against the Reaver, they will be in a good position to do so. But the Reaver has got a lot of good upgrades, has got some technology, and is doing damage all across the map. So Crazio, you can see the sprawling, usurping qualities it still possesses already in effect. Litterbot is left in the game with a single supply depot, and now the Reaver is trying to tear straight into the tanks with a couple of Reavers. Doesn't really work. Crazio suffering a lot though, because the income is not really there. It's only a 2 gas kind of thing, but now has got income coming out of every part of the map and should be able to produce more units. Then again, building placement, there are some bots who can do that a little bit cleaner, but once Crazio's got the power and the space to really build, oh, and this was not good. A carrier switch can be quite deadly, but Crazio's already on top of it. It had a lockdown available already, and now with a fleet of science vessels, matrix tanks and ghosts in the rear to deal with the carriers, I think it's a foregone conclusion that there is nothing that can stop a tank and Goliath army like this. You can hear the lockdowns going off everywhere, and of course the 3-3 Goliaths are very, very powerful. There are no air upgrades yet for the Reaver. The Reaver sort of has got the money, but just hasn't got the production capacity to deal with that, and is now building 6, 7, 8 carriers at once. That's really insane. So if you are going to play a game which is not supply capped, do not play against the Reaver, because it will go absolutely berserk on you. Then again, Crazio is defending quite well, but will have to defend at so many places at once, and this army is unbeatable, basically. But the Reaver is harassing all over the place, and still has got the hugest capacity. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 carriers at once, and still a lot of money in the bank. So a lot of fighting power. Crazio though has been trained to fight Ximp, because Ximp was one of the great adversaries of Crazio back in the old days. And Crazio can do one thing very well, and that's kill carriers. You've got the lockdown, you've got the matrix, you've got well-upgraded Goliaths, and you can see the Reaver losing a lot of units in a relatively short time. Then again, it's got production no longer everywhere, because Crazio, oh god, Crazio's got production everywhere, and a nuclear silo as well. Litterbot still in, oh no, the thing got cancelled. Crazio has got the capacity to build nukes, but nukes have been sort of been excluded from his build orders as not being efficient. It would be great to see a well-versed bot like Crazio actually do nukes. That would be so very, very, very pretty. So there you go, the main base of the Reavers getting carved up by a couple of Goliaths. Shuttle being built, not going to cut it, and of course this base is doing what it can. Worker count is sort of depressed, and now Crazio is just going to row over the Reaver, and what a game it has been. That the Reaver unfortunately has never been really able to live up to the hype. It's got so much potential, but oh, now with battle cruisers and all, it is so very hard to stop a Terran of Crazio's caliber. And we are still waiting for Crazio Terran to get back onto the server. Has been working on this Protoss a bit, but yeah, the Terran is still under construction from what I've heard. And I think Crazio is waiting for 2019 Student StarCraft AI Tournament Finals to help deal with that. And that is the GG. So going off into one later game. I've got one more. What's this? This is a green bot, and I don't know what it is. Okay, this is some kind of an old replay from 2016. And I don't know why Greenbot is playing Protoss, but perhaps it's a human game. Let's look at the API. If it doesn't really rise beyond this, it might be a human. But then again, it wouldn't be called bot, so I don't really know what the idea is. And this is LeaderBot 2015. You can see the nice wall. LeaderBot was the first to have that nice wall with a lifting barracks for a little bit of a gate. And Green doesn't really look like human with 3k APM. That would be rather impressive. That's 50 clicks a second or tabs, and that's just quite a lot for a human to sustain for even a millisecond. Well, if you were to break down to a millisecond, perhaps it would just work if you just mashed things and got lucky, but okay, so this is a bit of a weak spot in the broadcast. LeaderBot still doing its thing with the command center on the high ground with the tanks, and Greenbot is going for more units basically, and a little bit of macro. Ooh, and a shuttle. So there we go, trying to catch Goon, looks like. And the Goon doesn't want to, but it's alright. Oh, and 4 Zealots, but there are a lot of Marines to help deal with that. So that was cute, but not really working. And the Goons can't really contest all the Marines, and firing-wise, there are some issues as well. So I don't really know what's going on, but Marines of LeaderBot are keeling over. Is LeaderBot producing anything? Yes, it's still producing stuff, so it hasn't really crashed. Then again, it's getting stuck on basically on moving down. That has got some nasty effects on the command center. So Greenbot doing okay, nice building placement. We'll really have to look up what the Greenbot actually is, because yeah, nice. All the tech here and production over there. Will we have more? Yeah, we'll have more. LeaderBot, of course, on the high ground, untouchable for all the Goons on the low ground, because you can do. Oh, now the tanks are coming down the high ground to claim back the natural. And of course, the Goons, they might do something to help and attack the tanks, but you can see, and it was a lot worse back in the old days, that these units were just told not to attack a tank when it's siege, and that's just going to get pretty messy. LeaderBot will probably be able to take the natural, and no third for Greenbot yet. No further technology. No, it doesn't look like it. And just gateway units and the occasional shuttle. So, LeaderBot, will you rebuild your command center? Oh, nice Zealot bombs, but also cleared up some of the choke that LeaderBot was stuck on. But if LeaderBot doesn't get to build another command center, oh, here it is on the high ground, and if it is, oh, it got killed before it landed, so very unfortunate. No third base for Green yet. Green has got the natural. LeaderBot's nearly mined out, but LeaderBot has got the high ground, and that will probably evolve into a quite serious, funny late game. Because you can see, oh, there's a lot of juice in there actually. Oh, and there is a carrier, a pair of carriers actually, but some Marines as well. And LeaderBot is out of money, so it's got to make do with what army it's got. It's 40 army supply, and I really like that, because the army is really powerful. No long distance mining either. It's 38, and Green is still replenishing, because the natural has still got some juice left in it. And this one carrier is actually quite expert in dealing with the bio, and now there aren't any medics left either, so I think this carrier is going to do way too much damage. In principle, can clean up the entire base of LeaderBot by its own. Oh, there are 2 medics left, but there is only 1 Marine, and for 1 Marine that's a lot of interceptors to deal with. Oh, now the Marine's dead. So the ground forces of Green take care of LeaderBot. Who the hell is Greenbot? I do not know, and that's nice. That's very, very nice. Might be Reaver, judging by the shuttle drops, but then again, a lot of Protoss bots have been implementing that mechanic, so that's the good game for Leaderbot. Figuring a lot. Oh, sorry, it was already in my archives. I've got one more game for you today. A bit of a short broadcast, but then again I thought, well, if I haven't got these really old replays, it's just not as much fun. I'll try to get my hands on them because it's really good to see the lowest grades bots of 2014 versus the lower grades bots of 2019. We've got Ice with the war mechanic. It's not really perfect, but it is okay, and you can see that this is just a precursor of Leaderbot's war, and real invention is pretty rare in Brute War AI. It's just things that have been thought out by other bots, by other human players, or rather, if I say by other bots, by people behind coding these other bots. But Ice doing quite well and using the high ground with the tank. That is so very, 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 very beautiful. And still, there are hardly any bots who do that. Then again, Ice is from the 2010-11 cohort, really. There was a team of university students from Japan working on it. So it has got some very, very, very gnarly capacities. I once asked in 2014 or 15 if they were thinking of resuming production or development of this bot. The answer to that was no, because the team had moved on and graduated, and that was a pity because it's so very, very, very beautiful. Now then again, it should be stated that Ice is a further development of Aya, and well, Aya of course is the creation of Gabriel Sineev, who is now heading the Facebook Brute War AI team. So everything that goes around comes around, but you can see that we've got quite a history. It's almost 10 years since we had the first Brute War AI match. If it hasn't been 10 years, I think it must be 10 years. We must have an anniversary coming up. I need to look it up, and I hopefully we haven't missed it yet. But some of the old guns are still around, and it's just a nice little trick to get a better exit in case you block yourself or the barracks doesn't really move. But Ice playing it very safe with 2 bases, mining up all the other ones. And that's still a tactic which can work fine. Bereaver is left bumbling in the middle of the map, has got 3 bases, has got a lot of upgrades, going for air attacks as well, has got Storm. And this I really like about Ice, this nice geometrical laying of mines. It's very, very beautiful. And although it killed the depot, it's sort of stuck on its tanks now, so that's unfortunate. And Bereaver, what's it going to do? Has got some observers, but not enough. Oh, and losing a tank to a mine, that's just sloppy. Now with the tanks and the scarabs, Bereaver is going to plow into this choke, but I think you can sort of envision how it's going. And one of these things, you've got these bots are trying to keep their distance from the tank, but these ones think, well, we can inch a little bit closer. So the foremost units basically get pushed into the firing range of these tanks. But now Bereaver has found a third and will kill it. And that's something. And now the entire tank army gets dislodged, but now it's going to move out as well. And then you've got a lot of territory to cross before you hit the enemy. And Bereaver is still on 3 bases, making some pylons, making a lot of zealots. So I think you can play Protoss versus Terran like this, but at some point, and rather at this point, you have got to trade. So you've got to find a way to get your units to the tanks, either by shuttle, by carrier, by recall. I've seen TCU do some recalls and perhaps Purple Wave as well, but this is just sheer murder, and you can see almost more than 100 army supply at this point, because the production is behind this, just evaporating, and not a single tank was harmed during this assault. Now, you can see that Bereaver wants to expand, but is not really making it work, and this zealot is coming in to help, but doesn't really help at all. The observer finds the mine, but still it's very hard for a bot even to deal with these mines. And I'm going to speed it up just a little notch. Ice going for the third once again, hasn't really got the money. And still the Reaver trying to attack the tanks. 1 or 2 or 3 die, but the rest just keeps rolling, and Ice is now actually ahead in supply. And still no fourth for the Reaver, and that's a problem because the main is out, the natural's out, and there's only a third left. And the tanks, they will keep rolling. Without money you cannot stop them, and once the third falls, the Reaver will be out of money. And we'll have long distance mine from this base by lack of, and this one as well by lack of, oh sorry, completely missed that. So the tanks are here. Here come the units from the rear. Small pocket of tanks. Some friendly fire damage, but the storms and the goons from the rear clean it up. And that was really neatly done. So the Reaver is still in this game, but Ice is now long distance mining from the third. The natural's nearly mined out. And with Dark Templars, always a good idea, even versus top bots like Ice, who have this scanning equipment in place since donkey's years. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Storm! Yes, storm. One more please, gentlemen. Yeah, nice dodge, but then there was a goon as well. So Ice is now long distance mining from the third, which, if this bridge gets shut down, it will not really work. And that's a lot of storms in the hands of the Reaver. Oh, and with the observer overhead, you can see this going wrong, but still completely unable to take the fourth. This Zealot is not on point enough to help clean up the mine, and then, well, some kind of skirmish is going on, and of course the goons, they dodge the storms, but then... Ooh, and Ice is only building the light because it's still an air unit. Basically, Ice is fighting both the Synth and the Berkeley Overmind. The Berkeley Overmind used to make a lot of neuters and be quite effective with that. You can look it up on YouTube, it's pretty epic for the day. But then Crazio and Ice learn to make the lights, and no matter how many neuters you have got, if you've got neuters without this clustering neuter micro, which you see from human players and now from Killabot and some Zergs are trying to emulate it as well, it is very hard to beat a straight up Goliath army, especially with upgrades. And now you can see with the storms, these Goliaths, they dodge it, but they run forward, and that's not really the best of the SCPs. They don't like being stormed too much. There is one Goliath left. The bees are taking a lot of fire, but Ice is slowly getting starved now. Only 11 army supply left. And if you think, why isn't normally the Reaver only mines out the minerals until there is, if there isn't 8 left, it leaves them alone. So they get, if you got 100, you get down to 96, and then it's 4 left, so they consider these minerals as empty. And now the probes are going for the long distance mine. Up until here, this would have been a lot easier, but of course, it's not about what's easier. And now, oh, this High Templar is sort of left in charge of overseeing the Terran base. And this kind of stuff is just, oh, finally the goons cleaned up the mine, but no Nexus still. Oh, and now the Nexus is there. So I think in the end the Reaver will sort of prevail, but it's hard to tell when exactly that's going to be, because the army is over here and some over there and some here as well. It's in an expanding defensive kind of posture, and it's not really producing anything, although it's got a lot of income. Again, it's got a lot of gas, so you could make a lot of Templar. And now just fortifying this base. I'm fortifying in the middle of the map for some reason. Not really taking another base yet. We've got a small pocket of Templar here. Oh, we've got a scout coming up, so this is just going to be a BM kill. Scout, Dark Templar. And here comes the army again. It is 66 versus 4 army supply, and the army supply consists of 2 dropships, so that's not really all that fair. Still no 4th base, but the Reaver is doing this and may win eventually. Have we got time for one more? Nah. Well, yes, we do one. We'll do one more. The Reaver versus Crazio. Let's put a little bit of speed on because I've decided myself to do only 1 hour. And the Reaver is going for a gateway, which is good. Crazio, quick expansion, then 1 Marine, which is being attacked by a Zealot. But 2 Marines can sort of kite the Zealot. But then it's hard to properly deal with that, and it's waiting for more Marines or a Vulture. And in this interval, it's the poor Zealot got drawn into the bunker and killed. That's unfortunate. Natural up for the Reaver as well. And we saw the Reaver dismantle ice despite the tanks and despite all the mined-up expansions which it would like to take. And now we've got 1 Vulture, a couple of mines, and 1 bunker. So Crazio's still pretty vulnerable. No tanks yet. Oh, and there is a Reaver in the back of the base. Totally missed that. Here it comes. And it's going for 1 unit at a time. Crazio will evacuate. The Reaver killing the turret, or trying to kill the turret. Now it's dead. So Crazio under a lot of pressure, and although there are quite a bit of mines all across the map, the Natural's up and running, but the main is being totally taken apart by this Vulture, and this perhaps is why I got this replay. It was such a marvel to behold a Reaver taking apart a base like this, and it's a relatively simple Reaver. It doesn't really deal with the Wraith all that well, and can't deal with tanks, but you can see the damage done. And all the SCVs that weren't evacuated were killed, lots of buildings dead. There must be a couple of tanks falling as well. So with a couple of nifty plays you can sort of take apart a human player. And now, ooh, that was a large tank burst from the rear. The Reaver, the potential was there for a long time. It's still there, but it needs to be developed a little bit further. Dealing with the tanks is a task of such... well, you need a bit of courage, and you need some... I don't know how the tank problem is going to be solved. Locutus does it quite well, but it does so before the tanks really get dominance on the map. And still, if you can get to the tanks like these Zealots do now, and the supporting units will come to bear, it will work. A couple of storms on top of this might have helped enormously, but tanks are still such a very good unit in Group YI. It's sometimes very unfair to watch it, actually. Nice storms going off, and Protoss, I think, will need to regroup. Vultures out in the middle of the map, cannons for defense, so the Reaver is doing a lot of things very well, but then you've got this Terran army with the shielding of the Vultures and the Goliaths, the Wraiths overhead, the air cover, and these tanks already have such an enormous range. It's very unfair, and then you've got the repair of the SCV, so it's very hard to actually take apart a Terran army like this. The Reaver is pushing hard though. The Reaver's pushing very hard, pushing Crazio back, but then you've got these bridges, and then, oh, the Reaver's still pushing. That is very beautiful to see. That more tanks coming up from the rear with a bunker, with a bit of a choke, with a matrix. And this tank will be taken apart, but Crazio in the end still holds. Another base up for the Reaver though, and Crazio is slowly mining out the main. Oh, and this Reaver is doing such a lot of damage again to the worker count. Crazio will have to rebuild workers once more, trying to take this base probably, but the pressure is on, and the Reaver is doing exceptionally well. And let's keep an eye on any kind of possible new shuttles coming in here, because Crazio is leaving this bit of the base open. And there is my lovely warning sign. We've got to wrap up. And Crazio has left the base again. The Reaver is fighting tooth and nail, and Crazio is slowly running out of money. Oh, and here is another shuttle with a Reaver, and now the Reaver is running from the Goliath, so that didn't really work. But the Reaver has got production everywhere and has got a lot of money, and that needs to be stressed. The Reaver still has got 2 mining bases, now another one. The Crazio's main is, for all intents and purposes, out. The Natural's out even sooner, and all Crazio has got 40-50 supply army. It's all there is, and once units die, they cannot be replaced. Crazio 50-52, eking out some last units, but now is falling. 44 last bits of minerals being drained from the main base. 44, 46, 48 supply, but the Reaver, you can imagine, is as happy as a clam in a shell. And here comes another Reaver in the main, shutting down what little defense there is and killing so many workers. And now it's 16 army supply. The front has been breached, and well, I did show a lot of Peterbot and the Reaver, but well merited, and we can only hope that both of these coders can come back to update their bots, because it's really glorious to see. For the next video, I hope to be able to show you some games of 2014 of the really old bots, the not top bots, which is really something quite different. And I hope that the maintenance on our server will get done quite quickly as well, because we all like to see a good game. So for now, thank you for watching. Do recommend me some games once the server gets back up. And Shanko will be here next week, and the week after that I'll be back with hopefully some old games. So for now I say keep them coming, keep coding, and keep watching. Now goodbye.